Welcome everyone to Color Commentary. We are your Pauper commentators, Michael Pitchick and Adrian Warzales. How's it going, Adrian?
Oh, pretty good. How are you, Mike?
Good. It's been stormy over here, but I've been enjoying myself. There was some big news that hit the Magic world on date of recording. We're recording this on Monday, and we'll get into that. But first, let's take care of the upkeep. First off, as always, we are brought to you in part by Original Magic Art. Original Magic Art is an online store with all sorts of great tokens, dice bags, playmats, and art prints from throughout the world of Magic and the world at large. So if you're looking to get something to kind of spice up your play area, cannot recommend them enough. They are consistently getting new arrivals in. They've currently got a thing going for Commander playmats. But just in a quick moment, just looking here right now, they've got Mutavault playmats, Lion's Eye Diamond playmats, Escape Shift playmat. They're constantly getting new stock, and it's always really cool stuff, and we stand by their products. So if you're looking to get a little bit of a discount and help the show out at the same time, you can either go to originalmagicart.store/commentary, spelled is in the name of the podcast, or use the affiliate code Commontary, all caps, again spelled as it is in the name of the show, at checkout, and you'll get 10% off your order, and we get a little bit of a kickback. So you're helping the show continue to exist, you're helping support us, and you're also getting some really nice accoutrement for your play space at a better price. So once again, originalmagicart.store/commentary, or commentary in all caps as your affiliate code. On checkout, 10% off. Both of those, spell as they are in the name of the podcast. What do you got for us, Adrian?
L'accoutrement. Well, we also have a Patreon for just $1 an episode. You too can hear the full show, including our pre and post shows, and you get access to our Patreon exclusive Discord channel. Pretty sweet. What else have they won, Mike?
The final thing is we are brought to you in part by Hipsters of the Coast. They're a great content website. They are frequently up to date with the absolute most breaking news. They broke some of the news that we're going to talk about today, I think pretty much as soon as it was made available by Wizards of the Coast. And they're constantly coming out with great articles. They've got cool podcasts for a variety of formats, ranging from limited all the way to vintage and everything in between. So if you like Magic content, I urge you to go check them out. They've got a lot of cool stuff on there, and now we're there too. So definitely go and give them some love. All right. So this morning at 11 a.m., a bombshell hit the Magic community. Adrian, what is UMA?
Uma Thurman Masters.
All right. Now that we've gotten that joke out of the way, we can't legally say that anymore. But
yeah, we have legal contracts.
Ultimate Masters is coming this winter. So Ultimate Masters is dropping on December 7th and is, according to Wizards, one of the last master set they plan on making for a while. So we literally just had Gavin on a couple episodes, and we've talked about this at length. Master sets are great for our format. Adrian, are you worried about how this is going to affect the growth of Pauper moving forward?
Mike, now that you mention it, I guess a little. We talked a lot about how this was a great vehicle for downshifts, but Gavin did say that they were looking at some, like the TV show analogy. We could easily see more downshifts maybe in a standard set. And also something they included in this announcement was that they are still going to be having reprint sets. It's just not going to be in the Masters type environment. So, no, I guess a little worried, sure. Change is always a little concerning, but as a whole, no. We got people on our side over at Wizards of the Coast, so not super worried, and it's not like we won't be getting these reprints. What do you think?
I'm also not dreadfully worried by this. I think that, I would have been worried if we hadn't had literal word from inside Wizards very recently that, hey, we do understand that you guys are looking for reprints from sets like the Masters sets. I would feel a lot more worried. Seeing them say this is the last Masters set, cool. Like, I don't know what form reprint sets are going to take in the future. Maybe it is standard price boosters with less high quality reprints, but I'm not dreadfully worried about this because we do kind of have like a backup. And I saw people on Twitter raising some concerns about this. And obviously it's right to be concerned. Like, there wasn't a specific thing in here that says, oh, by the way, Pauper players, we're also going to be like continuing to release sets that could have downshifts for you. The other big thing to talk about, you've seen the box toppers, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, I've looked at all of them. I want some for my Legacy deck. Legacy, the format that you never stop spending money on.
Yeah. So what we're talking about here is, if you buy a sealed box of this, there is something in there called the Ultimate Box Topper, and this was actually the world's first introduction to this set. These were sent out as an apology for people who had difficulty ordering Mythic Edition of Guilds of Ravnica online. And what it is it's a sealed like cellophane pack, and inside there is a, would you call these full art? I don't know.
They're borderless. I would call them borderless.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. So they're these weird treatments of cards where it's like, it's not even fully borderless though, because like you've got kind of the bottom part of it. The art continues all the way to the edges. Like it's a little bit more panoramic.
They call it borderless.
Sure. If that's the terminology they want to go with. But also it's just like absurdly good Eternal staples. There are none for our format, but you know, we've got, I don't think anything here except some of the Zendikar creature lands aren't played in Eternal formats. And a bunch of them have new art on top of that. Like, I really love the new art for Ancient Tomb and Dark Depths.
Yeah, the new Dark Depths is really good. The Ancient Tomb is really the reason I want those. I think they're the best Ancient Tomb, and I really like the Howard Lyons one from the Expedition. But that Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth is also just really sweet. Like some of the Bitter Blossom art, again, just really, really sweet.
Yeah, the Bitter Blossom was pretty cool. The Fulminator Mage was kind of a shocking one. I didn't know that they were that keen on not reusing RK Post artwork, but you know, and yeah, like the rest of these are all just like cool playables for older formats. I will jump out ahead of this bus. This is a very expensive product. This is a luxury Magic product.
Yeah, and we want to talk about that a little bit too, don't we?
Yeah. There's a lot of people who've been very quick to like jump in and say like, this is highway robbery. No one is holding a gun to your head and forcing you to purchase Ultimate Masters products. They are expensive. This is part of WotC's business model. The best thing that you can do as a consumer is, if you don't think this is a good price, don't buy it at this price. Like, Wizards is going to have to listen to something, and if these packs aren't moving off shelves, that'll give them the feedback that you can. But apart from that, like, this looks really awesome as from like a perspective of a long-term player, because even just the handful of reprints that they showed off, there's a bunch of stuff in here that desperately needs reprinting. Also, I really love the new Demonic Tutor artwork.
Yeah, the new Demonic Tutor artwork, sweet. Love pirates.
Yeah, it's an Ixalan art.
I think so. My take is, yeah, it's a luxury product. Definitely vote with your wallets if you don't think it's a good idea. I have a very weird love-hate relationship with these types of products. I think they're really sweet, and I like to imagine myself owning these cards. That's realistically not going to happen, but to say that Wizards hasn't always done this, I think is a little disingenuous. Don't you agree?
I mean, we've had like the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive walkers for ages now.
Even beyond those, think about like the IDW promos, for example, or even going so far back as to do the media promos, like the book promos and stuff. Like, Wizards has done this stuff before.
I'd say, but those were more hard to get more than just like outright expensive. I don't know.
Guru lands, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird thing where like, my best piece of advice to you is, if you don't like the prices of these, but you like the cards, just buy singles. Booster packs are usually negative EV anyway, so don't get too worked up about this. This is a cool looking set, and hopefully we will see some cool downshifts. If the reprints we've seen so far are any indication of raw power level that they're aiming for, we could get some cool stuff here. So yeah, that's the big news today. We have no current spoilers for our set, and they did state that the full spoiler would be up, I believe, the 15th or the 16th, somewhere in there.
That's soon.
Yeah, it's pretty soon. So I don't know if they're doing a traditional spoiler season for this like they usually would. I haven't seen any rumors about it prior to this, so if they're going to be getting previews out there, they gotta hustle on that. But I am genuinely excited, and I'm happy to see where we go from here in terms of reprint sets, because it could be interesting. All right. So our main discussion topic for today, MTG Arena. We've mentioned it in the past. This is the new, not Mitgo, but definitely in the same realm as it, product from Wizards. They've been doing Pauper, and today we are talking about Standard Pauper. And Adrian, do you remember the last time we tried to talk about Standard Pauper?
I really don't. It was several months ago at this point, I want to say, right?
Oh no, I'm talking about the first time. The missing episode. I think it's episode number 8. The audio for the second half of it cut out and got corrupted, and I was away on like my wedding trip. So we never actually aired any of that to the public. Like, no one's ever heard that besides us who were in the room. But
wow, I don't remember that.
You don't remember this at all?
No. That's really funny.
I only remember it because I remember stressing out while I was like getting ready to get married that like we were missing half an episode, which is ridiculous looking back on it. But
yeah, dude, I don't remember that. That's funny.
All right. So regardless, Standard Pauper is now a thing with Arena. So because Arena has a limited card pool, it uses the standard card pool for Pauper. And the first thing that we kind of want to get out of the way is talking about the differences that are inherent within that card pool and how that's going to, in some ways, shape how this format works. So, Adrian, what are some examples of things that we're not going to be able to have access to in the Arena Pauper format?
Well, Mike, I'm glad you asked, because we made a list of that before the show. The first and the biggest is good cantrips. We don't have Ponder, we don't have Preordain, we don't have Gush. So that's going to be a big difference. You're not going to see blue decks perhaps dominating as much as you see them in regular, I almost call it standard. The wrong type of standard. In a regular Pauper, legacy Pauper, let's call it even.
No, that said, though, Opt still exists, which is a non-zero like quantity. So like there is a decent cantrip. It's just not the density or the quality that we see in regular Pauper, I guess, since standard Pauper is what we're talking about.
Is Opt just the best cantrip in this format then?
I've gotta imagine so. I think the only other one there's that split card from Guilds that's at uncommon where half of it is a Surveil Preordain. But I don't think that there's also a bunch of like red spells that cantrip but don't do any top deck manipulation.
Right, they're just like cycle. They're played in actually regular standard in like a Kiln Fiend type deck, I want to say.
Yeah, with Runaway Steamkin and Gitu Lava Runner and a bunch of other go fast things. So what else are we missing out of this format?
Cheap removal. The best removal spell in the format I think is Lightning Strike.
Probably, and I'm willing to bet that I think the cheapest no caveat black removal is probably 4 mana, which is not a great place to be, if we're being honest. But I mean, these are limitations, right? The restriction breeds creativity, and that old good adage. I'm actually looking up right now just to see if there's anything cheaper. But yeah, like I'm seeing like Contract Killing is 5 mana, Deadly Visit is 5 mana, Eviscerate is 4 mana. Mm, oh, actually, I
What,
didn't.
what are all these noises you're making?
Well, I don't know the answer to this, honestly. I'm pretty sure that it's just things that are commons in current standard, correct?
Correct.
Well,
Why?
a little bit of a shame then, because murder is in at uncommon in M19.
Oh,
So
yeah, it is not considered legal in
yeah.
standard Pauper in that case.
All right. So there are a couple actually here. So Vanquish the Weak is 3 mana. It kills something with power 3 or less. That's a little bit limited. But there's also Severed Strands, which is 1 and a black for a sorcery. As an additional cost, sack a creature. You gain life equal to sacked creature's toughness. Destroy target creature and opponent controls. We kind of panned this during our set review, but I've got to imagine that this is a close enough approximation of Doomblade that for a down-powered format, that's got to be pretty reasonable, right?
Yes.
All right. What else are we kind of missing in this format?
You wrote down big finishers. I'm guessing there's not. I mean, I think we sort of discussed this in the pre-show. Is the biggest creature the Benthic Giant reprint? Like realistically?
I think there's a couple other bigger vanilla, just like dorks. Like there's like if you just want to go big, I think you can do that. It's just that okay. So here we go for finishers. There's for stuff that actually let's say power greater than or equal to 6, just as like a starting point. So big things that big things that are gonna get the job done. And let's see what we got here. So we've got Bog Stomper, that's just a vanilla big thing. We've got Ancient Bronodon, which is a 8 mana 9/9 with no text on it. There's Colossal Dreadmaw, which is a 6 mana 6/6 with trample. That's not the worst top end in my mind. And actually, here's one that I think is a pretty reasonable finisher: Vigor Spore Worm. So 6 mana 6/4 Undergrowth. When it enters the battlefield, a creature gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard, and gains vigilance. And then it itself can't be blocked by more than one creature. So I guess those are kind of your big just big dumb idiot kind of cards. But I do think that Coldwater Snapper is probably the pinnacle of just big and hard to kill. I guess we also have Siege Worm, don't we?
Remind me what that does.
Siege Worm is a convocable 5/5 with trample for 7 mana. Yeah, it's kind of tough because a lot of these are sort of big asks in terms of just raw mana. And I think that Coldwater Snapper, which for those unfamiliar with it, is, and I'm going to try and do this one from memory because I don't have it on hand here. It is a 6 mana 5/4 with hexproof. And
just Google it.
Yep, I just pulled it up. I was right. So
okay.
It's 5 and a blue for a 4/5 with hexproof. And I've got to imagine most decks in this format have difficulty dealing with one of these if it actually gets to resolve.
Right. We can't forget that counter target creature spells in this format. Why can I not remember the name of it
Essence
right now?
Scatter.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that is a good point. Like, while we don't have actual factual counterspell, there are still a decent amount of counters in the format. They're just either more specific in what they can target or more expensive in mana cost. Admittedly, I've not had time to dig into Arena this past weekend, but is cancel playable here? It's still got to be way too little for what you're paying, right?
I think it's going to depend on how quick the format is. Unfortunately, I was also not able to play this weekend, so shame on us for sure. But I could see it being a player in like a more dedicated control deck.
Okay, yeah. Like if you're just gonna say like, all right, I'm gonna play counter spells no matter how miserly they are, this probably gets in as like a 2 or 3 of.
Yeah, man, I really should start building up my collection so next time, because like it happened kind of recently too, right? The last time we had standard Pauper.
Yeah, they have like a kind of a rotating schedule at this point where, it's Singleton, then something else, then something else, then Pauper, then something else, then something else. But all right, so what is the last thing that we have listed here that we identified as kind of a sore spot for this format?
Fast mana. We have the lockets, which I guess counts, and Land of War Elves, which again I guess counts.
But we don't have Tron.
Right. We don't have cards like Tron. We don't have Dark Ritual. We don't have Manamorphose. We don't have a lot of these fast mana effects. Tron is probably the most relevant one, as Storm isn't really a deck that people play, but still just it bears mentioning.
Yeah, and I think that I think that's the thing. A lot of these decks are just playing a fair game of Magic, fundamentally. Because in case you hadn't sussed this out at home, listeners, we will actually be talking about some of these deck lists just because we would feel like just talking about this in a vacuum is useless. But I do think that not having Tron, which, as we've discussed many a time, is a pillar of the format, one of the key decks, does pretty dramatically shift how this format is going to play out. Like, even if you did have Ulamog's Crusher in the format, like, how are you casting that in a really efficient amount of time? So I don't know. I think those are the four big things that kind of keep this format separate from your regular Pauper events. All right. I'm going to talk a little bit though about things that are working in favor for this format. So first off, your mana is not actually that bad. So because we have reprints of the Guild Gates and we have the common ETB tapped lands, the Stone Quarry cycle, we really need to come up with a name for those things, by the way. Just as an aside, because
the Squarry cycle.
No, you're fired. You're not part of this idea team anymore.
All right, I guess the show needs a new person. I'll see my way out.
All right, but in all seriousness, so we have 2 sets of ETB tap dual lands for 5 out of the 10 color pairs, which works out pretty well. So you could probably string together a pretty reasonable 3 color mana base. It's not going to be great, but it's going to work. So I think that's actually a big boon of this, especially because looking at the creatures available for this format, it doesn't look blisteringly fast. I feel like if you wanted to play like a Dirtily Sultai deck, you could probably get away with it. And I guess there aren't that many other color fixing lands, are there?
Sorry, I'm thinking. No, I don't believe so. I think it's just the cycle.
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna do a quick little checkaroonie just to make sure. But yeah. Oh, Evolving Wilds is still in standard.
Oh yeah, our old buddy.
That is helpful. We have a Rupture Spire riff in Gateway Plaza, and we actually Rupture Spire was reprinted as uncommon. This is always so tricky. We do have Unknown Shores as well, which got a printing in Ixalan. So there are options outside of that if you really have demanding mana costs, but I would not recommend Unknown Shores. It feels too slow even here.
It's bad.
Yeah, it's fine when you're using it in Tron to filter into your colored mana, but if you're using it as an actual land, I'm not a big fan of that. Same. Another strength of the format, right now there's a bunch of gold commons. A bunch of people are making fun of us making fun of me in our Discord, but you can play Hypothesizal. That's very much a thing you can do. Although I think if you're in Izzet, I would much rather play like 4 copies of Sonic Assault, the tap selling down, deal 2 damage to its controller.
Yeah, the Electrolyze.
Sure. If that's how we want to conceptualize that card, sure, Electrolyze. Jeez, that is an interesting sell. But yeah,
hey.
What?
Nothing.
We've also got, for example, there's Rosemane Centaur in Selesnya that's just a big old 4/4, and as we mentioned, the format's a little light on finishers. We've got Rhizome Lurcher, which is probably the biggest creature playable in this format in some board states.
And a pet card of Mike.
Yeah, I like the little creepy zombie boy. What other really solid gold cards did we get out of that set? We got Whisper Agent just for kind of incremental value.
I think Whisper Agent is cool.
Yeah, I think it's a cool card just in general, but here it's probably a little bit above the curve. What other? There's Sky Knight Legionnaire, the 3-mana 2/2 flying and haste. That seems like excellent here, just in terms of.
You think Sky Knight Legionnaire is playable here?
What's blocking it?
I guess that's fair.
Also, you've got Mentor in this current like rotation.
Mentor does make that a lot more attractive.
Like if you have a 3-power Mentor thing and you can mentor onto this even just once, like a 3/3 flyer is gonna put in work. Sure. And then I think that covers all of our guilds, right? We got Boros, we got Selesnya, we got Golgari, we got Dimir. Okay, yeah, I think, is that everything? No.
Well, it should be 5.
There should be 5. Boros, Selesnya, Golgari, Dimir.
Is it? You already said it.
Is it? Okay, cool. We did get all 5. Sorry. I just needed to make doubly sure here. But yeah, we've got gold commons right now. And this is something you can probably speak to more than I can, as Magic Arena is always a hit or miss experience when you're trying to run it through wine, as I am. How quickly do you think someone could grind the wild cards necessary to build some of these decks?
I don't think it would take very long. I don't think it would be a 0 effort, but I don't think it would take as long as you think it might. But like at the same time, I don't think it takes as little time as you think it might. I think you will have to play, but getting the commons should be relatively easy compared to other decks, especially if you put some money into Arena.
Yeah, if you put money into it, definitely, but I'm just thinking about people coming from the free-to-play angle, because that is one of the admittedly very attractive bits of that game. Right. But yeah,
because getting any of them is really not super duper difficult. You might have to wait a while for rares and such, obviously, but yeah, it doesn't take that long.
Yeah, but if you're trying to grind out all these commons, I can't imagine it taking too dreadfully long.
All the relevant ones anyway.
All right. So yeah, that's kind of like the eagle eye view of this format. I think we should probably take a little moment here, and we're bringing back our very appreciated segment from last week that people responded well to, the combat step. So this is the segment where both of us have brought a either or question for the other one to answer. And this week, Adrian's the first in the list. So what's your either or question for me?
All right, Mike. Bumblebees or wasps? No, it's Omen Speaker or Augur of Bolas.
Okay. So gut reaction here is Augur of Bolas is just a better card.
I agree. Mm-hmm. But these are both 2-mana blue 1/3s, and both of them do something to the top of your library. But Omen Speaker just scries. Why do you think Augur is better?
I think Augur is better because you're going to see one more card, and if you hit, and most of the time you don't play Augur in decks where you're unlikely to hit on the average 3-card look, assuming you hit, it does put a card into your hand. Whereas Omen Speaker is never putting a card into your hand, even though it can filter your draw in a more open way.
Would you say that Augur has a little bit more of a deck building restriction in that case?
I would certainly say that, but I think that the deck building restriction within our format, like telling someone in Pauper, like, hey, you're a blue deck, and if you want to run this card, you're going to have to run a bunch of instants and sorceries. I feel like that's a lower ask.
Yeah. For
sure. Like it feels surface level. It feels to someone who maybe hasn't played as much of this format, surface level, that feels like an actual deck building restriction. In reality, I don't think there's any blue decks that don't run enough instants and sorceries to make this card worth it for the most part. So I think that Augur of Bolas is the much better card in this case.
All right, what do you got?
All right, I've got one for you. So first card, Oblivion Ring. And so this is 2 and white, enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, exiling non-land permanent, and then when it leaves the battlefield, return the non-land permanent. The other one I have for you is Faith's Fetters, which is 3 and a white for an enchant permanent. Enchanted permanent can't attack or block if it's a creature, and it can't activate its activated abilities.
Unless they're mana abilities.
Unless they are mana abilities. It does have that one particular caveat. So, and I guess this is one where I don't know which one I'd pick, so I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
So they're both interesting. They both play really nicely if you're the one with Ghostly Flicker in your deck, because you can always retarget. Face Fetters, I think, plays a little bit more nicely. Face Fetters obviously is upside against burn. You can put it on one of their creatures, save yourself some damage, gain 4 life. It's actually really tough. I think that as cards, I want to say Oblivion Ring might be stronger just because, much like Journey to Nowhere, just gets rid of the permanent. But I like the 4 life on Faith's Fetters a lot also, and I think Faith's Fetters is a little bit more fun.
Okay, I can accept that. And I do think that the burn tech side of this is not to be overlooked, because slapping this on a Thermo Alchemist probably is about as good as that card gets. But
but 4 mana kind of restrictive against burn, right?
Yeah, I do think that the 4 mana is a little rough. But yeah, I think I'd probably agree with you on that one. I think I'm leaning a little bit more O-ring-ish. All right, cool. That's the combat step. So now moving back to standard Pauper, shifting gears a little bit, we have got some deck lists. And Adrian, would you like to pick one of these out that we can sort of talk through? I don't think we need to go through every card because we've got a lot here, but maybe kind of hit some of the highlights and we can talk about how our reactions to the deck.
Sure. The first one there, I kind of like. It was sent to us by eHustle. It's the top link, and I don't know. It's like a Sultai control deck. I'm actually gonna need to bust out Gatherers. I actually don't know what all these cards do. The first card.
Oh, I see what this is doing. Okay, so we've got we've got a bunch of auras here. We've got like Talons of the Wildwood, which is a very, very, very down powered version of Rancor, I think is how it's best contextualized for folks who are familiar with classic Pauper.
Yeah, we talked about it in the set review.
Yeah, we did. One with the Wind, which enchants a creature and buffs it and gives it flying. Oaken form, I am admittedly unfamiliar with what that does. Mark of the Vampire gives lifelink. And then I'm looking here and I'm seeing
Oaken form gives +3/+3.
+3/+3. There we go. And I'm looking here and I'm seeing we got Druid of the Cowl, a mana dork. We've got Jungleborn Pioneer, which makes a hexproof token. Then we've got Jade Guardian, which has hexproof and puts counters on merfolk. And I think I'm beginning to see where this is going.
Gotcha. It's not a control deck at all. We also have two copies of Divination, 2 copies of Secrets of the City. So we got some card draw. We have
actually I want to talk about that. Why do you think the split? Because it strikes me as like a little weird, because I can't imagine you're not going to have situations where it lines up poorly, and the mana is a little bit troublesome. I guess turn 3 having double blue is not like impossible.
Do we think the deck builder didn't have 4 copies of Divination?
Or they didn't have 4 copies of Secrets of the Golden City. There's 2 ways to play that. I don't know. I can't imagine that's.
And something else that's interesting that I want to just mention about standard Pauper that I just realized. These are non-competitive, and so there's no sideboard.
Ooh. Okay.
Which bears mentioning because it explains some of the other choices.
Okay, so yeah, I'm seeing here. Yeah, there's 2 Mephitic Vapors in the main deck. Even though that okay, so now it's all making sense. Druid of the Cowl is a 1/3, so it's going to survive your Mephitic Vapors. Then we've got Rabid Bite as a form of removal, and we've got River Herald's Boon, a instant that puts a +1/+1 counter on a Merfolk you control, and then a +1/+1 counter on target creature.
And you have 2 Merfolk. Like you have a bunch of Merfolk in the deck. You have 8. Four copies Jungleborn Pioneer, 4 copies Jade Guardian.
So the interesting thing about this is Jungleborn Pioneer is not a super amazing threat in my mind. So
does the token it make have hexproof?
Yeah, the token it makes has hexproof, but it's
sorry,
kind of a
but
spot.
it's also a Merfolk.
It is also a Merfolk.
All right, well that's relevant then.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sold on that, but like Jade Guardian seems like a really, really good target for River Herald's Boon. That just seems like a slam dunk there because, again, it's target creature and target Merfolk you control. So you can target both modes of these onto a Merfolk you control.
Yeah,
and that seems like a pretty solid value play. But yeah, and then we also have Urban Utopia, which, if I'm not mistaken, is a overcosted abundant growth. I guess my only thing here is this.
Yes, it is.
This looks a little bit scattered to me.
I think that we're going to find that in all these decks.
Yeah, this one more so than some of the other lists, I think, because it's got a lot of one-ofs and it doesn't really feel super, super coherent.
Why don't we take a look at the Golgari deck we got sent also?
All right.
It's the next one there.
Yep, just opening that up. So I'm seeing 2 copies of Burglar Rat, which forces discard on ETB.
Right, it's just Ravenous Rats. We've also got 4 copies of Doomed Dissenter. So this is like an aristocrat style deck almost.
Yeah.
Doomed Dissenter creates a 2/2 zombie when it dies. We've also got Dusk Legion Zealot, draws you a card, and then we get into the fun stuff, right? We got 4 copies of Vicious Offering, which is a removal spell, Severed Strands and Costly Plunder, which are draw spells, and Macabre Waltz to get some of your creatures back. We've also got 4 copies of Sky Scanner, which I told you was unplayable at one point, I'm pretty sure.
I think so.
Looks pretty good here, along with 4 copies of Soul Salvage, so you can return these creatures, or 2 creatures, I should say, back to your hand. We've also got Rhizome Lurcher, which is the main reason I thought you might be interested in this deck, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Thallid Omnivore, which I'm going to need to look up.
Thallid Omnivore is a 4 mana 2/2, I believe, and you pay a mana, sacrifice a creature, it gets +2/+2, and then if the sacrificed creature was a Saproling, you gain a life.
So you gain 2, but I don't think you're going to be doing that very often, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but that's like your
Nintuko Husk. Yeah,
and then we've got Kraul Forgers, which is Undergrowth. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life for each creature card in your graveyard. So I actually really like this deck.
So actually, the thing I like the most about it is look at that mana base. It's 14 swamps and then 8 dual lands.
Yeah, well, you only have 8 green cards total, or 6 green cards total. So that's very reasonable in my opinion.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing some sort of like, I think like I'm kind of inclined to say that I'd prefer to see like some quantity of Evolving Wilds and Forests in this. It just feels like that's kind of more where you want to be. But apart from that, like this deck has 7 removal spells in it. It's got Rhizome Lurchers, which can get pretty darn big. It's got 5 pieces of recursion. And then it's just got like this huge life gain thing. It's a shame that this deck doesn't have like some sort of like Gravedigger style effect stapled to a creature, so you can kind of loop them with one another. Because I've got to imagine like that level of just being able to have a blocker every turn, or just being able to have a wave of 2/2s that keep coming, probably get the job done in some of these matchups. Also, 4 copies of Sky Scanner. Does that tilt you out a little bit there, Adrian?
No, I think it's fine in this deck because you will draw like 3 cards off of it if you get to sacrifice it to one of the card draw spells.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Costly Plunder is a spicy little one. and I'm glad to see it getting a little bit of play here. I'm kind of shocked to not see any of the fungus that produce sapperling creatures here.
I just don't think you need them.
Well, I know that there's one that does it on death, which is why I'm kind of intrigued of the possibility of that alongside Thallid Omnivore, but I think Crawl Foragers is probably the slimmer like life gain package against the aggro deck. So I think that might have been part of the deck builder's reasoning there. Also, this one a little bit more streamlined than our last deck. This one definitely has more 4-ofs and a little bit more cohesive of a game plan in my mind.
Yeah, I agree, and I think this deck was really sweet.
All right, next up, what do we have? We've got a Boros deck. Adrian, your favorite thing in the world. Starting off with our 1-drops, we've got Healer's Hawk, the 1/1 flying with lifelink. We've got Fanatical Firebrand, the 1/1 with haste for 1 that can tap and sacrifice itself to deal 1 damage to a target. 4 copies of Shock, 4 copies of Take Heart, which is a 1-mana combat trick to give something +2/+2, and it has some other text I want to say, but I don't remember it. We've got 4 copies of Bishop Soldier, a bear with lifelink. We've got 4 copies of Mesa Unicorn, a different bear with lifelink. 4 copies of Cavalry Drillmaster, the one that buffs something on its ETB, and then 4 Wojek Bodyguards, the 3 mana, 3 power, 3 toughness mentor creature that can't attack or block alone. And then, as I mentioned, 4 copies of Sky Knight Legionnaire. And then finishing this all off, we've got Radiated Lightning, which is a 4-mana instant that deals 2 damage to target player and 1 damage to each creature that player controls. And then 22 lands.
I want to talk about a few things about this deck.
What do you want to talk about with this deck?
No Lightning Strike. Surprised. 2, Radiating Lightning. Definitely Rat Colony tech.
You know, I think I know why. I don't think Lightning Strike's actually legal in this format.
Oh, is it an uncommon?
I think the last 2 printings of it have both been uncommon.
Well, I think that Radiating Lightning is it's very telling. I think Rat Colony is, and I don't see we've submitted any Rat Colony decks, but I imagine that's a huge problem in the ladder.
So do you want to explain why Rat Colony is a thing?
It's just very attractive because it means you can be mono black and just poop out rats and hope you scum wins. Yeah.
Also, you only need 4 commons to build it.
Well,
I'm pretty sure that the way that Arena works is if you have the 4 for it, you can just keep adding them into your deck because, right. It has a way of like cashing in stuff that you already have 4 of, right?
That's true. Yeah, I didn't think about how that might work.
Yeah, so I think it's just like the ultimate quote unquote budget deck. But I definitely think that Radiated Lightning, I think you're spot on there in terms of why that card's in here. Now, I believe there was another card in Guilds that was similar. Cosmotronic Wave. And that's the same mana cost, but it also makes it so your opponent's creatures can't block instead of shocking your opponent. Now, it is also a sorcery as opposed to being an instant. So I guess which of those would you prefer if you're going into this metagame reasonably blind?
I almost like the sorcery. Well, I just don't think it matters. This one does 3 to the face. What does the other one do?
This one does 2 to the face. The other one, oh no, wait, that's 3. I'm sorry, I can't read. The other one makes it so your opponent's creatures can't block this turn.
I like this one better. I like dealing the damage to the face more.
Okay, that's totally fair. But like, this is a pretty reasonable aggro deck, right? Like, there's nothing here that's like dreadfully shocking to me.
Except shock. Ayo.
Why are you like this?
Yeah, it seems good.
All right. The next one is, I'm going to actually skip a little bit ahead, is from Evan Irwin, a popular host of Magic Mike's. He tossed together a Pauper Bant Hexproof deck that I think is a little bit more focused than the Hexproof deck we looked at earlier. So for Omen Speaker, we just talked about this card. Here, I think it's good.
Yeah, here it's fine. I mean, Aggro Bolus isn't in the format, so what can you do? But
Yeah.
also, I don't think Augur would be very good. There's only 10 spells in the deck.
Yeah. And then we've got the 4 Jade Guardians, the hexproof thing that probably is buffing itself in this list. Then 3 Soul of the Rapids, which is a 5 mana 3/2 flyer with hexproof, which is just never getting dealt with by most decks. We've then got 3 Cold Water Snappers. We talked about this earlier in the show. 3 Opt, 4 Blink of an Eye, and 3 Divination make up a draw and tempo suite. Then we've got 4 One with the Winds, 4 Luminous Bonds to lock down your opponent's stuff, and 4 Squire's Devotion. Do you remember Squire's Devotion?
I was about to ask you to tell me what it does.
Squire's Devotion is an aura. And as soon as I load it up here, yeah, okay. Enchant creature. So 2 and a white. Enchantment aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has lifelink. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink.
I'm sorry, say that again.
So 3 mana, +1/+1 and lifelink, and you also get a 1/1 vampire with lifelink as a token.
Oh, I like that a lot.
Here's the thing.
Go ahead.
This feels like it would be better if there were edicts, right?
Right, but what I do like about it is because there isn't really a lot of stuff that can punish this strategy. It feels like you said, the lack of edicts. You could just put auras onto the token and have a lifelink token.
Okay.
Have a lifelink, a big lifelink not hexproof, a big lifelink beater. I don't know. I kind of like that. There's not like the black removal is all pretty bad, so it's not like there's a lot that can really punish this play.
Okay, I think that's a fair analysis. And obviously with this, we're going to have our mana stretched a little bit thin. Like, there's 24 lands in this deck, and out of that, I'm seeing 12 of them, so half of them are actually basics. The rest are all tap lands. That feels a little slow, but, like, you're also not casting most of this stuff turn 1 or 2. Like, Blink of an Eye, I think you're probably hanging on to for something actually worth blinking. Divination obviously is for refilling after you manage to make some plays, but your creature curve for actual finishers really starts at 4 and only goes up from there. So I don't mind this heavy of a tap land mana base in this specific situation. All right, so I actually have realized that I forgot to include a list that I had seen that I am going to go quickly run and get, because if I remember correctly, it was a pretty spicy little number. Because, Adrian, what weird control finisher do you think has made its way into this format as well?
Mike, you're starting to give me an aneurysm. I don't know.
What if I told you that you could play Devious Cover Up in this format?
Oh my freaking goodness. I knew it was going to be something annoying. Go ahead.
All right. So I just dropped a image of that into the...
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so you get to play all sorts of fun cards in this deck. So you've got 3 copies of Opt, a couple copies of Deadweight. We've got Moment of Craving in there. We've got... Oh, man. So if I had been playing this week, I can tell you this is probably what I'd be playing. So we've also got fungal infection. A creature gets -1/-1, and then you get a 1/1 Saproling. We've got Blink of an Eyes. We've got Essence Scatters. We've got a Singleton Negate. We've got Divination. We've got 2 copies of Mephitic Vapors, because the only thing it kills is that token I just mentioned. 2 copies of Eviscerate, which is a sorcery speed 4 mana destroy target creature. 2 copies of Devious Cover Up in case you just really want to make sure that you don't deck yourself. And then we've got Stealer of Secrets, which is a 5 mana Archaeomancer, but it's a 2/2. And 2 copies of Watcher in the Mist, which is a 5 mana 3/4 that surveils 2 when it enters the battlefield.
We definitely dismissed a lot of these cards on the set review, but in light of standard Pauper, Mike, maybe all of our standard sets, maybe all of our reviews should have a standard component and a regular Pauper component now.
I think moving forward, it's going to have to be something that we do if they continue to run these events, because I saw a lot of people who don't usually play Pauper talking about this on on Twitter and other social media outlets. So I don't think the format is super, super diverse. Obviously, we're kind of missing one of the pillars of a lot of solid formats. There's not really much in the way of combo decks, but it does look like you can put together a competent mid-range deck, a competent aggro deck, and a competent control deck. So I think moving forward, this is something that we probably want to keep our eyes on, just because like this list looks like a blue-black control list from the absolute nuttiest draft of standard possible. And I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting to see where this goes and if Wizards continues to support the format on Arena via these weekly events. And I don't know. I guess at the end of the day, we've gone through a bunch of deck lists. You've seen some of the things you can do in this format. Are you interested in trying this the next time it comes around?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to start building my collection now so I can just play it.
Yeah, that is one of the nice things about these rotating formats is you just kind of you can wait till they come back and take that time to stock up on the things that you need. We've got a couple other lists that we'll probably link in the show notes. Most of them were sent in as images or found as images, so they're not exactly the best for interacting with them and seeing what all these cards do. So you might want to keep a Scryfall window up, but if you're on Arena, try this format out because I'm sure Wizards is crunching numbers as to how many people play these weekend formats. And by showing support for even standard Pauper, you're still showing that you're interested in these types of formats. And I think it's only going to be beneficial for Pauper as a format as a whole. Adrian, do you have any other kind of sort of closing statements on this matter now that we've looked in on a format that we haven't touched since, 2016?
You're all beautiful.
All right. And we're coming up on about the amount of time that we usually record for. So, Adrian, if you want to take us out, go right ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just say I am actually really excited for it. I have not been playing as much Arena as I probably should have, but I'll get into it. Really, the big question for me, Mike, before I take us out of the show is going to be, what are they going to do when Standard rotates? Like, that's my big question.
Well, they've already had a Standard rotation. The first time they had this event.
that was in beta, right? So it was just easy. Get rid of Amonkhet, whatever.
Sure.
But what happens when they get rid of Ixalan and people have already spent money that's not part of the regular, like the Amonkhet one was just part of the regular beta wipe. They were going to wipe progress regardless. It didn't matter. Everyone knew that. Are they just going to return the gems you spent on Ixalan packs? Like, I just don't know what they're going to do.
Probably not. I think that there's been rumblings. I think they're going to figure out some way, some sort of format that becomes a quote new Eternal. Okay. And is likely Arena exclusive. And I wouldn't be surprised given the response I've seen to it. They do those singleton events where you just build a 60 card standard singleton deck. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Kaladesh forward singleton come in as like the quote unquote Eternal format of Arena. But I think that Pauper will likely continue to rotate. Although if they cut it at like Ixalan or whatever and just say, all right, everything from here on out in Pauper events, I could see that working too, but I don't want to make speculations here on something I know nothing about.
Yeah, of course. All right, well, I'll take us out now. Just wanted to bring that up, had that be in my bonnet.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone joining us today. This podcast is brought to you, by the support of our patrons, including Deathbite. Thank you so much for Scryfall and for supporting us. Consider supporting us as well if you like the show. You can check the list video or description of this podcast or details on where to find us. We'd like to remind you, if you're listening to this on a platform with reviews, they're always appreciated because they boost our visibility. If you've got a deck list or idea for a topic, you can contact us either via our website or you can email us directly at colorcommentary@gmail.com. Special thanks to my LGS, Pat's Games, Mike's LGS, JP Comics, and of course, L. You can find our theme song Quantitative and other great tracks over at soundcloud.net/ELLELLELL. For next week, this is Adrian and Mike, and we are signing off for Color Commentary.